Member for Kamloops North Thompson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, that will be literally cold comfort for people when they're not able to meet the energy demands in the next cold snap when this government cuts access to gas and we don't have enough electricity. But let's be clear, Mr. Speaker, this government, by their own words in 2017, Site C was on time and on budget. Then they opposed Site C, and it's more than doubled in cost. Then they blocked First Nations clean energy projects, saying that they weren't a good value for people either. And now they're trying to re-engage them at a higher cost to ratepayers. They're playing politics with the finances of BC Hydro, plain and simple, with the rebate and switch scheme that they've got going. Meanwhile, the Premier is tripling the carbon tax on families forced to choose between heating their homes and putting food on the table. Imagine the frustration of those families that are reliant on natural gas, Mr. Speaker, when they realize with the rebate and switch program they're going to get 25 cents a day for 1 year only, and then their rates are going to go up by 16% next year. Will the Premier deliver real relief by removing the carbon tax on all home heating today?
Minister of Energy and Mines.
Mr. Speaker, people's hydro rates and bills are not going to go up 16% next year. That's just fabulous math on the member's part, but simply not true. And in fact, over the last 6 years, we have kept BC Hydro rate increases below the cumulative cost of inflation. Mr. Speaker, the member mentions the last cold snap. We were able to supply electricity to our neighbours, Alberta, at a time when they needed it most. That's because BC Hydro is operating a resilient system.
Member.
That's because BC Hydro is
Just hold it,
operating.
Minister. Members, please continue.
That's because BC Hydro is operating a resilient system, one that we know needs to adapt and change given the way climate is changing. That's why we have the spring call for power coming in April to diversify the sources of energy that we use here in British Columbia, to add more electricity to our growing economy, to the people who are moving here to BC. That's why BC Hydro's 10-year capital plan is $36 billion. Mr. Speaker, we're going to deliver clean, safe, reliable, affordable energy to British Columbians for years to come. Thank you.
Kamloops North Thompson supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You'd think the Minister of Energy would also want to acknowledge the reason we got through the cold snap was 2/3 of the energy consumed in British Columbia then was provided by natural gas, not electricity. And news for the minister, it's their order in council that is trying to redefine and recalculate what inflation actually means for BC Hydro. So imagine how the families feel upon discovering that the NDP's solution to their inflation struggles was to simply change the definition of inflation, Mr. Speaker. Removing the carbon tax on home heating would provide a genuine rebate, offering real relief and making life more affordable for people. Tax cuts drove down the inflationary pressures in Alberta and Saskatchewan, which is exactly what BC United would do, Mr. Speaker, but the Premier insists on driving up the cost of gas, rent, groceries, and home heating every single day while families continue to suffer. Why is this Premier living in an alternate reality, refusing to give real relief from inflation, such as cutting the carbon tax on home heating today?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, you know, one thing we all do know is that the world is changing around us and climate change is having a real impact, and people want to do their part in fighting pollution, and they want to be able to afford their energy bills. That's why our government continues to take action. The BC Electricity Affordability Credit, nothing to laugh at. Again, I'm so disappointed to hear that somebody would think this is not a good idea to help people at a time when they need that help the most. Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to help people with costs. We're going to continue to deliver more housing. We're going to continue our work on childcare spaces, reducing fees for people, reducing ICBC rates, providing free contraception. Mr. Speaker, I could go on and on. This government has people's backs, and we will not stop.